picking on my music, Adam. Hope you guys are doing well. Good morning to everyone that had a chance to say hello. I'm still able to see your comments. Don't worry. If you still have questions, you can, of course, comment and question. And most of the times, everyone takes care of each other on here. You guys are weather enthusiasts, you're junior meteorologists, unpaid, to be clear, unpaid, junior meteorologists that can help us out. So if I don't get a chance to get to a certain topic or I miss a question, then by all means help each other out and try to answer it, because one day I will try to show you guys what I see back here, so you guys get an idea of how there's a lot happening, a lot of different pieces. So it is hard to miss some of your comments, especially when they're flying by, and a lot of you get in here, usually on snow days. Then it gets more of a challenge. So I appreciate that. All right, I am wave meteorologist Brian Goode, in case you didn't know, and I appreciate you all watching again on the blog. Today, it is hinted to it and the tease to get to this. This is very much a roller coaster ride that we're talking about, heating up. We hit 90 yesterday. I know we missed it so much. We're back at it again today. In fact, it'll be hotter today. Hot again tomorrow. We reset for the weekend. But because we are in what I call a blocking pattern for next week, we really just cannot get much in the way of cloud cover or fronts to really get close to us next week. So my fear is, because we are in a drought, as I'm about to show you, we are going to likely get back up to 90-degree temperatures. No, I'm not seeing a 99, 102 still. I think those days are over. The sun then goes quite low. But I do think 90-degree days are not done. So I don't know how that makes you feel. Type 1 if you're okay with that. Type 2 if you're just bummed out and you need snow. And I'll work on that. I promise. Okay, let's get you to the setup as we head throughout the day today, because I do think that we're going to be in for some just gorgeous weather for the weekend, and great to view at least some of the stressed out leaves that are out there, right? Because a lot of them have been dealing with drought stress, and therefore they've been falling, losing their leaves a little early. I'm constantly scooping them out of my pond like crazy, trying to get that out of control, because it's not true autumn yet for the leaves. That's not until October. So for those of us that have pools or fish ponds, you know what I mean? It's like a constant cleaning out you're having to do because of the wind as well. All right. But anyway, I digress. 17 days and counting until we get to the autumnal equinox. Outside right now, it is really nice. Still some green there showing up on the park, on the hills there in New Albany. Beautiful shots. I love looking that way upstream on the Ohio River. All right. Drought status is in. This just came in this morning. Not a huge shocker here that just about everyone has been placed into the low in drought status. Now it's that yellow shade. Technically, they consider that just abnormally dry. Some argue that's not technically a drought if you're abnormally dry. Well, I think if you're abnormally dry, you are in a drought. So anyway, it's on the scale. I call it a low in drought. There are some that are already into the moderate drought phase, which would be in Oldham County, up through Trimble County, into Jefferson County, Indiana, that whole corridor, the northern part of the bluegrass area of Kentucky, heading into the Ohio River. Another spot we're watching, of course, is we run the eastern side of Washington County, Kentucky. And then the stripe that's been building for about a week now, increasing. This may end up taking over. I mean, you can really see the darker reds showing up. I'll show you more on that in a second, into Ohio. But I really think this section here of West Kentucky and Southwest Indiana will likely take over as probably one of the lead drought zones we'll be watching. We'll keep an eye on the bluegrass area of Kentucky. You have a little bit more wiggle room than they do. But either way, burn bans are going up. I'm going to have an updated list coming up on midday on how many counties have declared that as of last check there. All right, let me get you to I think I have it right. There we go. This is the national view of the drought. You'll be able to see that, again, Ohio, West Virginia, man, you don't see that too often, that they are in such bad shape, but they are struggling there. The Carolinas and Florida, thanks to the tropical systems they've had this week and this summer, they're doing great. They were in a drought to start things off the summer season. That has been erased. And back to the West, yeah, pretty hot there. West Texas, El Paso, even the Rockies, you got a drought, but they always have a drought. But really, to be honest with you guys, I've seen way worse out of the Rockies. So this is actually fairly tame for them. I think really Texas and parts of the mid-Atlantic, Ohio, those are the spots that we need to watch for influence on our potential weather patterns, even for the upcoming winter season. We'll need to monitor that. All right, back here at home, we are monitoring just a few clouds around. We are not expecting as many as we've had the past couple of days, we've lost that high upper deck of clouds that has escaped. And boy, as soon as it did, it was about 3 o'clock yesterday, it scooted to the south. And once it cleared the sky overhead and we went back to a blue sky, the thermometer shot up to 90. Coincidence? Likely not. And because we do not have the high overcast today, we have at least a modest south flow. We have more moisture around. It is going to be a hot and humid setup for today. All right, not going to try to sugarcoat it. Back to summer, right? Reality of the wider view shows that we don't have a lot going on to our south. That tropical wave down there across the Gulf states is something we'll be watching, but right now it looks like it's going to stay away to our south. You can see just enough moisture was brought in yesterday to allow for more of a humid setup. The moisture levels are still not deep enough, though, to really, in all the different layers of the atmosphere, to really go with a setup of a shower and thunderstorm potential developing. There's so many gaps in that atmosphere between us and where the planes fly that are missing key moisture levels that I think it's going to be really tough. Other than cumulus clouds will develop today, it's going to be really tough to get rain out of those. So unfortunately, it looks to be a dry and hot setup today. Now, here is one of our high-res models, and there has been a change. There has been a change in the outlook for tomorrow. So today it looks okay, just hot, quiet, warm tonight. Tomorrow, and this particular model was one of the first to catch on to this, and that is the timing of the front to move in with some showers and maybe a few thunderstorms. The timing on that has now moved up to a 3 to 8 p.m. window. For the past 2 days, it's been roughly 8 to 10 p.m., but it has sped up a few hours to where it now looks like a mid-late afternoon window through about sunset. So that's good and bad. So if you have plans you were trying to get to later into the evening, 8, 9 o'clock, and you're worried about a band of thunderstorms coming through, at least right now, this has been pushed up enough that only part of that evening may be impacted. But here's the issue, too. This model connects it all. I am not sold on this one bit. My concern is that this is not going to connect very well. It has a much better opportunity into Ohio, into Indiana. Your better moisture is there. Your better fuel will be there as well. And even there, it's not great, but it's higher than us. Once you get down to Louisville, we're right on the edge of the decent moisture level, and you get down toward even Fort Knox and go away to Bowling Green and get back to Paducah, and it drops off dramatically. So this front is really going to struggle to try to connect all the way through as it passes. I'm hoping it does for you. I know a lot of us need rain, so I'm hoping that it does connect enough to where when it moves in from the west, it moves right over your backyard and gives you a nice little soaking of water there. Because I'm telling you, as you're about to see, it's going to be a long time before we see rain again. But if you see this line stay broken up and it sneaks on by, or there's a gap that forms and your house fits in that gap and you get no rain, which usually happens to me, then we're going to be in a worse shape than everyone else. Severe threats, possible you can get some damaging winds and downburst type of scenario. That is common. We've seen that already in the last heat wave. So we weren't even outlooked really for severe weather many of those times. So it can happen. It absolutely can. Especially when you get hot, you can get a strong wind gust. So the severe risk is not zero, but it is quite low. But we'll be monitoring that as they pass on by. But the benefit as it moves on by allows us to enjoy that beautiful weekend we've talked about. You don't see it plotted here, but the wind does look quite strong on Saturday. You get wind in two different ways here. Once the front moves in tomorrow night with that band of showers and storms, delay it a few hours. You may notice the trees swaying as that wind from the west really starts to ramp up. We get into Saturday morning, nice cool breeze, feels great. But you get into Saturday afternoon. And then at that point, there's just enough moisture above our heads to allow for a scattering of these cumulus clouds. It's going to be relatively flat. And then we're moving in this direction. But they'll be real flat, moving to the south and east, drifting over us. They are going to be in response to the heat of the day. So as we get to about 12, 1 o'clock, that's when they should start to form in the sky. Very pretty looking. But depending on how many do develop, two things can happen. One, the temperature forecast tomorrow or for Saturday can bust. If you get too many of these flat overcast clouds, wherever your temperature is at about 12, 1 o'clock, may end up being your high for the day. And given how cool this air mass is and how it's a little faster, we may only be in the upper 60s in many spots when that cloud deck forms. And if that's the case, that means several of you will not get out of the 60s. And with the wind, the second thing will be the wind element, because I think if you go to a partly cloudy sky with these type of cumulus, you can get a wind gust that can be up there. I'm thinking 25 to 30 miles per hour. So a good, strong west-northwest wind and a mostly cloudy sky in the afternoon. Boy, you are really going to feel like fall is coming because in some areas, again, you're going to be in the 60s with a decent wind, making it feel closer to 60 when you're outside. Jackets and hoodies kind of weather here, guys. Sunday, just FYI, will feature a lighter wind and more in the way of sun, but still very pleasant in the 70s. Okay. Lows at night are going to be something we'll be watching as well. That will certainly allow for some really cool air to come into play at night. We cool off rapidly when we're really, really dry like this. So 60s and 70s, see the highs for the Ohio Valley on Saturday. We into Saturday night and Sunday. Cool weather. Sunday night into Monday, same ordeal. Louisville is going to be very close to 50. We will see how low we get, but Louisville should be the warmest spot on the map. I think everyone else surrounding us will be below 50 into the 40s. So not quite the frost level, but very, very comfy, right? So what's ahead of us? Well, looking ahead, the tropics will remain the bigger headline, but they're trapped. The Atlantic is trying to fire back up. It's struggling, but it's trying. It's had about a lot of warm air and dry air, but it's trying to push a lot of activity into the Gulf. The problem is we keep getting our fronts. Of course, they keep dropping down with our cool shots of air that come into play. That is allowing all these tropical systems to get close to us, to get in the Gulf, but again, they don't like fronts at all. They just don't get along. So if they sense any trouble going on in our neck of the woods, they're going to turn and try to just avoid it altogether. They are introverts in a sense. So they want to leave quickly. The thing we'll have to watch between now and then, especially late September, is the idea that if we have one of these fronts moves on by, each one of them does retreat back north again briefly to allow for these little temperature surges back up to around 90, right? So if we end up facing a scenario where we are out of a cool phase and we have a bit of a warming going on, and then at that point there is something going on in the tropics, well, maybe perhaps at that point it would see an opportunity to try to move more inland toward our area. Nothing is showing that right now, to be clear. But I do think this is a pattern. If you're going to get a fading tropical system and give us a drop busting rain, this is how you're going to get it. But we've got to get the fronts that drop down and the time of the tropics. That all has to line up. And boy, that's like playing the lottery to figure out how that will come into play. But that's what, as meteorologists, we're watching for. We're watching all the long-term data constantly to see if we see a signal that stands out and locks in for several runs. So far, I've not seen that. So I think we're okay. As we evolve into next week, yes, we got the cool shot of air we've been talking about a lot. It's worth talking about. But we get into next week, and this is where we bounce back up again to right around 90 for several days. So technically, yes, it will be another heat wave for later next week. But you can see all the tropical activity is going on all around us. Atlantic, Eastern Pacific, even something in the Gulf, but quiet for our area. Okay, so here's the 10-day. Let me show you that real fast, and we'll kind of get into how this is going to play out for the extended. I'll get to some of your questions as well. First off, here is where we stand today, about 92 degrees, 90 tomorrow. Again, that rain chance will be the afternoon time period that we're going to see any shower or thunderstorm activity. I'm just not sold on a very high rain chance right now. So let's cross our fingers and hope that it overperforms. We get into next week. A look at that stretch, just very quiet weather. 70s to 80s to eventually right back up to around 90 degrees. Okay, there you go. I'm not sure if it's a great I think it's a bad forecast, right? This isn't horrible. Maybe I'm wrong. It could be worse than this, guys, this time of year. It could be really, really, really hot like we just were. We're getting a nice cool break over a weekend. We deserve that. Fall festivals, we get outside and enjoy it. Haunted houses, whatever the case may be. You have that time to do that, and then you have the time till 2 to get still stuff done outside because the humidity, by the way, of that 90 you see will not be very high at all. It is going to be quite low. So it's going to be another dry heat type of scenario. All right. What did you say, Adam? My grass is mostly tan. Yeah, mine's a fire orange, which I don't know what is happening to my yard. It could be some other interesting setup. Kemper, could be interesting for U of L game. Yeah, sort of. I think it's going to be comfortable for sure. Great football weather, really. Be interesting to see what happens with the wind. It gusts at times. It may influence the ball. I don't know how much of a setup that usually happens there. It's pretty sheltered, but still, I think it's great football weather on Saturday. I mean, so much easier to handle than 94 degrees for sure. So I think it's going to be packed for that game. Okay, Josh, going to Destin next weekend is a tropical system in play. Yes, there's 2 to 3 waves on either side of you at that point along the Panhandle area. So there was one in the Gulf and one into the Pacific and or in the Atlantic. And right now, there's no immediate threat for that area of Florida, but just stay close, Josh. Watch it because they're kind of developing, but they're not really going anywhere fast. They're kind of just hanging out, kind of stalking us, it seems like. So we'll monitor it. High school games, weather impacts. Only issue on weather, I think, would be any lightning from any of the games because of that earlier timing. It's going to be close to kickoff. I'm hoping a lot of activity will be past this by the time we get into kickoffs for the games. I'm not worried about on the heat side, but I do think we need to watch lightning. But it's only going to be in a few spots, not all areas. All right, so I wouldn't worry about that. And then finally, Lisa says, my grass is crunchy. I totally understand. All right, I'm going to leave it at that for now. I will be on at midday, and we'll take a gander at some of those rain chances again for you Friday, and I'll have an updated look, of course, this 10-day early alert. You behave yourselves, guys, and I'll see you on the flip side.